You probably already know about Courtney Dauwalter's historic performance at this year's Western States Endurance Run that took place just a few short weeks ago, where she shattered the previous women's course record by more than an hour, with a finishing time of 15 hours, 29 minutes, and 33 seconds, and also the first woman to break through the 16-hour barrier, earning her the top women's spot and 6th overall, inking her name into the Western States history books next to the likes of Ellie Greenwood and Ann Trayson, legends of the sport, and former course record holders themselves. And if you were lucky enough to be on the track about 14 and a half hours later, during the famed last hour of the event, also known as the Golden Hour, you would have witnessed another breathtaking performance by Minnesota's Jennifer St. Amand, who was this year's final finisher, securing her buckle with just 21 seconds to spare. Courtney lives in Leadville, Colorado. She's a retired school teacher turned full-time professional ultra runner. Her running resume is nothing short of staggering, with first-place finishes from around the U.S. and abroad, including UTMB, Tahoe 200, Tarawera, Moab 240, and others. She'll be towing the line at Colorado's iconic Hard Rock 100 in just 7 days, returning as last year's female champion and women's course record holder. She's also featured on the cover of our latest issue of UltraRunning magazine, the Trails issue on newsstands now. Jennifer from Dexter, Minnesota, a former social worker and now recruiter for the Minnesota Army National Guard. Jen has 8 previous 100-mile races under her newly buckled belt, including 7 sub-24-hour finishes, with 2 of those under 19 hours, both at Tunnel Hill 100 in Illinois. Both of these amazing women were gracious enough to join me to share their experiences for a new podcast feature called First and Last. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here. You both are from the great state of Minnesota, and you're both amazing athletes in your own right. So my first question is, what's in the drinking water in Minnesota?
Can we just talk about Minnesota this entire podcast, please?
We certainly can. Let's start there. Tell me, each of you, tell me one great thing about Minnesota. Jennifer, you go first.
Whoa. We have really long winters. No, I don't even, let's see, one great thing. Amazing summers that you wait for all winter. They're so worth it once they come.
Courtney?
That's such a good one. I loved growing up in Minnesota, and whenever I get the chance to go back and visit, I absolutely do. But for sure, we aim for the summers when it's possible. I think one of the best things about Minnesota is the people and how wonderful they are, but also how the weather and just the seasons make people not make excuses, and they just live their lives no matter what. So on a, blizzarding day, you'd see people out biking around on fat tire bikes or going for a run or a cross country ski, and they're just bundled, and that's just what you do because the weather is what it is there. And I think that's pretty cool.
That's
yeah, I would
agree
agree
true
with
for
that.
Jen too. I'm seeing, yeah. And I think that is an ingredient, I think, for both your success at Western States this year, because that you're talking about determination, which you both had in spades. One of my first questions about this event, and congratulations to you both, if you could describe Western States in just a few short words, what are they? Courtney, let's start with you.
I'd go with adventure and community and probably like electricity or something. It's just got this really cool vibe about it.
Jennifer?
Okay. Wow. I would also agree with the vibe thing for sure. And just to say, I have actually had 900 finishes.
I apologize.
It's okay that my name kind of throws people off. So sometimes it doesn't, they don't populate where they should or whatever. So actually Western States was my 10th 100 mile finish. But yeah, definitely the vibe and the community for sure. That's made it so different from the other ones that I've done. And wow, the beauty, just astounding beauty.
So beautiful. What part of the course? Sorry, I'm budging in.
Please go right ahead.
Which part of the course did you like the best?
I would say, I think obviously it's gonna have to be for me anyways, the beginning up until it got dark. Right? 'Cause then I
Where
couldn't
did it
see
get
much.
dark?
I was probably like at just after the 50-mile point, what
Okay.
yeah, Michigan Bluff a little bit
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So I mean, all the way through that was just like astounding beauty. I really like got like I did everything that everybody that's done it before that told me to do, which is like stop and look, which I don't normally do. In this race, I really did do that a lot, and it was totally worth it, 100%.
You
That's
know,
awesome.
when you
Mhm.
were between Michigan Bluff and Forest Hill, that's about the time that Courtney was finishing the race. At what point during the day did you learn that Courtney had already finished?
Actually, I never checked in at all. I never asked anybody about that stuff at all, because like I said, I wasn't in that mind frame of competing or anything like that. So I'm like, I wasn't worried about anybody else. I was just worried about my own experience and my pacers and crew. Like I really wanted them to be able to get as much out of that experience as possible, because we don't live in California and we don't. That was our first time really out there, like on a. Well, for me, anyways, out on the course. So yeah.
So, what I'd like to talk about your individual mindsets going into Western States. You're both competitive people, and so where were you when you were towing the line in terms of my goal, my aspirations? What was going through your head at that point? Jen, start with you.
Okay. I swear to you, like I really went into this race with just the mindset of experiencing it. I had this lofty idea that, oh, maybe I'll get sub 24 just because I've done that a few times, right? But I really didn't like mentally prepare myself for that. I was like ready to for any time frame. Um, and like during the entire race, like I was just like trying to like keep as big of a buffer as I could. I think probably about halfway through I realized, oh shoot, I've only got like I'm not usually cutting or chasing cutoffs or whatever. So that was a different experience for me. And I really ended up having to like push myself. But I will say, I ran all the way to the finish where there's been other races, like even ones in the past where I've like the one I won, where I mean, I think I ended up walking the last 7 miles of that one, right? Because you push yourself so hard or whatever. So like this one, I did end up running like the entire time. So
Yeah, you came into Roby Point with less than 18 and a half minutes to spare. And you're pulling in like an 18-minute mile. So you have to bring it in. I'm going to guess we'll be jumping all over the place, but because we're here, let's talk about that. What was that like when you come to Roby and you know where you're at and you know how much farther you have to go? 1.2 miles.
it felt like a lot further. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I really didn't think I wasn't sure if I was going to finish on time, like probably from I have to look because I can't remember the names of the aid stations, but Point of Rocks on, I whichever one Jerk was at, he was like telling me, "Oh, you gotta go 18-minute pace the rest of the way," and I was like, "Oh, does that? But is there any hills?" I mean, I knew there was, but I'm like, "How bad are they?" They're like, "Oh, you gotta go 2 miles up from here." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?" At that point, I didn't think I was gonna be able to like maintain even that sub 18-minute like up a hill. Like it just seemed impossible. So I knew I just had to tear up the downhills and it just was what it was at that point. When I got up to the last point, I was very disoriented. I was hot. I was to the point where like going every hill was like huge effort. And I kept doing this leaning forward thing, which I noticed other people were doing too. I don't know. I guess it wasn't just me. Just to catch my breath, which is kind of weird since, when you train for hundreds, you never really get out of breath per se. Like,
Right.
but yeah, I just felt like I needed that resting. I don't know, it was so weird. And then there were people there that were like, it was amazing. Right even before I got up to the point, there were people running at me, asking me what I needed and bringing water and dousing me. And I'm like, they made it such a big deal.
Yeah, I interviewed the aid station captain there at Roby Point, Kurt Edgerton. He owns the local Fleet Feet stores here in our area. And, he said that, their big goal is they have a big job to do out there. One, they're out there the longest for aid station, and that they really know that they're there to motivate those people chasing the golden hour to get them through and do whatever they can. So they put a lot of love into that to help you guys get through.
When they told you your mile pace that you needed to keep to finish on time, did it feel frantic and like stressful, or were you just like, well, I'm doing my best and we'll see? Like, how did it feel?
I feel like I took it like, I think I took it like I definitely I didn't feel frantic. I felt like I could do it. I felt like in the end, like the last 2 miles was where I was definitely nervous then. Just because I didn't normally ever in other races, I guess, you know, you just go off past experience. I've never felt like I could almost pass out. I felt like I was very disoriented at that point, and I just had to like push through it. Everybody was like, I really fed off the energy of the aid station volunteers and everybody that was like literally screaming at me, and I just like, they think I can do it. I guess I'm doing it.
I got some. I heard a rumor that you were given some bad intel about the finish.
Oh yes.
What happened?
I don't know who said that, but they said I was gonna have to go around 4 times. And literally that kind of like messes me a bit, because when I entered, I thought like I was going as fast as I could go. And I'm like, I just can't go anymore. It just felt like I was up against it. And I just thought, no, there's no way I can go 4 times around this in time. Although I will admit, I didn't know how much time I had left. I didn't look at my watch because everybody was screaming at me not to look at my watch. They were just like, run, don't look at your watch. You don't have time.
When you came into the track was just electrified when you came in. What was that like? Do you recall? Because you can be pretty foggy headed with everything going on. So
no, I remember that. Yeah. I literally like, it's so crazy to me just how that was I've never experienced that before. Where there's so many people just screaming at you, and everybody's like so emotional, more than you are even, you know, you're just, wow, it was so overwhelming. I felt like there was like 60 people with me, like just behind me, you know, running with me on the track, and then all the people around me. And yeah, I've never experienced that. Courtney, I'm sure you probably have a little bit.
Dude, there were like 60 people running behind you, and there was a tunnel. Like, you were running on the only available lane on the track because it was just a tunnel of people, and every single person was fully invested in you getting around that track in time. So it was like so much screaming, so much cheering, and you were flying, like you were moving.
Courtney, what was your take when you saw her come through into the track? What was going through your mind watching her finish?
The golden hour is always so special and so impressive. And those finishers coming in, you know, with 20 seconds to spare it's hugely inspiring to everybody, me included. Like, just the drive and the persistence and the will to get yourself to that finish line after a big adventure is so cool.
So you both had that similar experiences, I think, in terms of an electrified crowd being there and just kind of propelling you forward. Courtney, what was that experience like for you coming into the track like that?
I couldn't believe that it was there. Like, when you turn and cross that bridge with the white fence and then you see the entrance to the track, I couldn't believe that it had arrived. And all race I had been just staying in the moment and not thinking about finishing and not thinking about, you know, any sort of like ability to stop moving. But when I saw the track and my feet touched the track for the first time, that was when I let myself believe that we had actually made it to the finish. We're going to cross the line, and then we could stop moving.
So there are moments in this race where you both probably made a stop to the pain cave and asking your body to do something that is going to be a lot for it. So I wanted to ask you both, what is your relationship with the pain cave when that time comes and having to suffer. Jen, what's that like for you? And did that kind of, where did that happen for you on the course? And what does that look like for you?
I honestly, well, so like my relationship with the pain cave is like, I think experience helps. Like once you've done a few, obviously, like, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that it's gonna, there's an end. And then you're going to be able to move through it. The only thing you can do is go through it. I don't know another element would put it. I don't really feel like on this course that I mean, throughout the night, I mean, I was slowed down a lot because of my headlamp, not malfunctioning a bit. So I don't really feel like I feel like in the end, I would say the last few miles was when I really entered the pain cave because I had to really push. To get through and to finish on time. So that's kind of where I was at with things.
Courtney, what's the visit to the pain cave like for you?
I had a long-term stay in the pain cave for this race. I love the pain cave. It's my one of my main reasons to keep signing up for these races, because I want to go to the pain cave. I want to try to make it bigger, and I want to take those learnings and that size increase onto my next thing to just keep investigating what's possible. So to me, the pain cave is, it's the whole purpose. It's the celebration. It's where the work gets done. And I would say I was like dabbling in the pain cave through the canyons. But then when I got to Forest Hill, I just decided that I was going to go all in on the pain cave for those last 38 miles or whatever, and like fully submerge myself into the very back corners of it to just see if I could stay back there for the rest of the race. And I did. It was it was hard. It was really hard. So I'm thankful for that time, and I'm hoping that I got to chisel quite a bit of new space in there to take on to my next challenge.
So Forest Hill to Rucky Chucky, something magical happens with you. I don't know what clicks inside of you, but you ran a 2:10 split down to Rucky Chucky. Jim Walmsley did it when he set a course record and did it in 2:05. And it's not the first time that you've run that fast. You broke through Ann Trayson's record for that segment. What is it about that section that really kind of propels you?
A couple of things, probably. One, so I decided at Forest Hill to just go. So I cut the brake lines. I was not going to hold back anymore. And I was just going to believe that my legs could carry me the rest of the way at that pace. And the second is that that's a super fun section of trail to run. So I was just trying to enjoy it as much as possible and roll with the terrain and, push hard, but also enjoy that sight of the river, because I feel like the river, you cross it and then you can really start to feel that pull towards the finish line. Like you got through another chapter of the course and turn the page, and now you're on the other side of the river, and that feels like, the final chapter, where it's still a far ways and there's a lot of work left to be done, but you can start to just feel that magnetic pull of the Auburn track.
For you, Jen, the getting to the river is quite a significant point in the race, because now you're getting you're continuing running on some very runnable track on the Auburn Lakes Trail on the way to the finish, and that, okay, I'm here, I just have this one segment to do. Yeah, it's 22 miles, but people turn into believers, or even more so there. What was that like for you, hopping out of that raft?
So I think it kind of is like more along the theme of before, where I was just taking it section by section. I really didn't have anything in my head like I need, like, oh, okay, great. I'm like, I knew that I was like, well over halfway point. So like, this is the end. But I wish I had something more amazing to say, but
It's
I'm
okay.
just like one ace age to the next at this point, right? And waiting for daylight.
Section by section is so important in these longer races. Did you have, what was your pacer situation? Like someone from Forest Hill to the river or to Green Gate and then someone new?
I picked up a new pacer actually right after the raft.
Okay.
For like 15, 16 miles until like the very end, the last 5 miles. And then that pacer was I had 3 pacers. So that pacer was she had done 5 miles with me in the beginning. And then I had another pacer up until that point, and then another pacer. And they were completely different people, like personality wise, and different strategies. And it actually worked out really well for me for that.
The variety of strategies helped.
Yeah, I mean, one of the pacers I had, he's more like he likes to push like the way I do, like military, like just kind of crass, like really push me. And that stuff makes me laugh and also really motivates me because it's what I'm used to. Um, the first pacer is more like of a supportive, making sure I eat, kind of like just really worried about my well-being. And then my other pacer, she's just run every single one of my races with me. So she just knows me. So she can just be present, really. And yeah, so that really, yeah, I think that's probably the first 100 I ever ran with that many pacers. Usually I might get one for parts of it, and that's about it. But yeah, I brought them because I really wanted them to experience the race with me. So
Yeah,
that actually was huge motivation.
it's so special to share, especially when you don't live in the area and
Yeah.
maybe it's a harder race to get into, so they might never get the chance otherwise. So that's really cool that you could have such a fun group with you. And I think it's interesting to have the diversity in the styles of their pacing type, because there are so many styles and so many ways you can go about motivating someone when it gets really hard. And that's cool that you got a variety pack.
What about you, Courtney? Do you ever have anybody like, do you ever get to a point where you can't talk?
Absolutely. Yeah. Usually when I have pacers, so I didn't have any this time, but often when I have pacers for races, I might, for the first couple minutes with them, like, give me the download on what's happening, like, spill the crew stories. And we'll do that for a couple miles. And then I'll be like, okay, radio off. Like, I can't process talking and I can't talk myself right now. And then we just go silent with the occasional, like, 2 words to each other.
So one of my pacers sings like he knows like all the words to songs, and like will literally sing like anything from country music, um
That's awesome.
I know, to rap music, like like 90s style, like he like will just like sing all the words to songs, and it'll crack me up. I can't exactly, like sometimes I'll chime in with him, but that is entertaining. I always tell them that, like when I get to this point, like I'll tell them like I can't respond anymore. You say, you can keep talking. Sometimes we'll get a bunch of people behind us because they want to hear him singing. Yeah, it's great.
Do you each have like certain, I guess, treats, rewards that you kind of give your crew to give to you at some point on the course during an ultra? That's kind of your go-to, like I'm looking forward to, I don't know, maybe a bag of Skittles. I don't know. Everyone has their one thing. Do you guys have like a one thing?
I don't have necessarily anything that exciting because I keep my nutrition super narrow for 100-mile races just to eliminate choices. So while candy is one of my main food groups in my normal life, I don't eat candy during a race. But I did this time. So I used Tailwind, and this time I had a ton of watermelon flavored Tailwind, but then we had 1 packet of grape flavored, and I just told my husband, like, fill my bottle with that whenever. And so that was kind of fun to get out on the trail, take a sip and be like, ooh, it was the grape.
Jen, what works for you on the trail?
Me too, but to be honest, like I'm kind of like Courtney in this department. I kind of keep it simple, although I do take some candy to get a slow drip of sugar, keep going, kind of thing, especially when I don't feel like eating anymore, just to keep it going. But dill pickles and pickle juice, that's probably like my thing. Like that everybody knows me for at Voyager one year. I had stashed them in my bra. And so now everybody calls me Pickle. So yeah, that's kind of my thing is pickles. Like I just love pickle juice when I'm running in the heat, I guess.
I tried training with pickle juice in a handheld in a small one, and I'll just say that warm pickle juice, not that great. Not that
Oh, I
great.
think it goes down even better.
Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it.
You filled a handheld with pickle juice?
I
That's a lot.
sure
That's
did.
going.
Yeah.
I take shots.
So, and that's
This is
one thing
amazing.
I would have done differently in my training, I guess. Probably.
I mean, it's salt, I guess, you know.
Yeah. So I think one thing, a characteristic that you both have in common, from what I can tell here, is that you seem like very positive people, and that mindset I think is so powerful, especially given this sport. So how do you approach positivity in ultras? Courtney, let's start with you first.
It's huge. Our mental space and what we tell ourselves during ultras is so, so important. And so I really focus on positive mantras, and I try to use them to just fill my entire brain space so that there's no room for negativity to start to grow. So I'll repeat things to myself, or, you know, if I'm having a rough patch, I'll just say that it's fine and that's okay. And sometimes I'm even talking out loud, like, that's okay. It's fine. You're doing fine, you know? But I do think that that space in our brains, there's no room to allow the negativity to start to swirl, because you'll latch onto that so quickly and it grows so fast, and it can really wreck a day out there.
Yeah. How about for you, Jen?
Oh, 100%. Everything she just said. I mean, I used to, like I said, I was a social worker, so I know how the mind can get you into a little trap. And also I know how you can trick yourself, you know, like even like that pretend smile. Sometimes Minnesota nice, you know, to yourself. That's what you have to do. Even if you don't feel like it, because it can just it just causes that cycle to like in reverse, you know what I mean? Like you can start going down that pathway where that negative stuff, and that's, you know, I swear you hear people on the trail like behind me, I'll hear people talking, they'll like literally talk themselves out of like running anymore, and you try to turn it around and you cannot do it for them. That's so interesting, because I actually had that happen during this race. There's a guy behind me for miles talking about this injury, and he went to the aid station, and that guy beat me later. You know what I'm like? See, like you just needed to pull himself out of it somehow and get back on the right track. So,
Do you have a mantra that you revert to a lot?
oh, I mean, because of the things I feel like. I mean, I'm 48, right? So like back, I just look at, I just go over, you've done so many hard things in your life. I can look at all these, I can point to all these things that I've done, deployments have been on, things like that, that I can just, and the guys that I compete with that, you know, that I beat over the years. I just think about all those things. That's kind of my mantra. I just keep running that in my head. And I've never like, knock on wood, I've never not finished. So like, I know I can just finish. And like, even during this race as well, like that was my, like, no matter what, I was going to finish. Like I would have been right there next to Ash and been just as proud. Although finishing last in this race is a different experience, but like as far as, you know, coming in under the 30-hour mark, which I didn't know about before I did it. I didn't do my research on that before I did this race. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, you guys, until they handed me the book, and I'm like, handed me this book on the golden hour, and I'm like, what? Oh, so that's like a huge deal. All I kept thinking about when I was finishing was like, oh, it seems like 30 hours is an aggressive for this course. For this kind of course, you know, but
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Jen just referred to Ashley Bartholomew, who is the dad of Lucy Bartholomew, and he finished 2 minutes over the cutoff. But it was one of the most amazing displays of grit and determination and sheer willpower. And also, there was so much love surrounding him coming across that finish line that it was really awe-inspiring. And if you get the chance to see that on film, you really should. And then you'll probably go sign up for a race directly after, because and it was just breathtaking. Courtney, what was your take on that?
I don't think there was a dry eye in Auburn when Ash was finishing, because we all knew he was coming in, and we all had watched the clock tick past, and then to see him still pushing hard to that finish was incredible. There's no words that can describe it, but if you can pull up a video or photos even, I think those help bring those emotions to the forefront for anyone who didn't get to be there.
So here's just a little funny, just a weird tangent story, but I think it really speaks to the ultra running community at large. So after Western States, like directly after the event, as you guys are waiting for your buckles, I went ahead and split. And so I went down to have some lunch at this place. Anyways, they've got this an art gallery there. And so I started talking to the woman who owns the art gallery, and she's a jeweler. And she's like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "Well, I just did this, cover this race, blah, blah, blah." And like, I start telling her, it's like, "Oh my gosh, this guy, Ashley Bartholomew." And she goes, "Lucy's dad?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I was there on the track when Lucy came in third place at Western State." So I wanted to recognize her somehow. So she went home and she made her a ring and imprinted her finishing time on that and then sent it to her. So she is in tears, like hearing me tell this story, but it's so great to see just how connected we are in ways we don't think about. And we just have a conversation. You can just kind of surprise yourself to see who else, just like, how just this sport moves people. And that's what's so great about it.
It's true. That's a cool story to share. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a silly question to ask you both. So be prepared. So let's say that you could have any band in the world playing for you in the middle of the track in Auburn to get you to the finish line. Like, who would be top of your list? Jen, I see you nodding. Please go right ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not even, I don't even have to think about it. And everybody's gonna like laugh at this. This is like, but it's just, I'm sorry, but it's just who I like. I can't, I'm not gonna defend it. 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, all the way.
I love that answer. That is so good. Wow. Okay, we just got some good insight.
I'm a huge fan, mega fan.
Courtney, how about you?
I'm gonna go with some Minnesota love, and while I know it's not realistic because he's no longer with us, I would love if Prince was just crushing a stage in the center of a track.
Could you imagine that? That'd be epic. I asked that question of someone who, unfortunately, she dropped it. Think at Duncan, but she said Weird Al Yankovic would be her choice to get her moving to get up Devil's Thumb. So, Jen, I wanted to I know we're almost out of time here, but I wanted to ask you, Jen, what does Courtney's finish mean to you? To see women just succeeding so much in this sport, like this, what's that mean to you?
It means, okay, so I'm so glad you asked that question. So I get to actually speak directly to Courtney just to let her know that she doesn't, we never met till today, but like definitely it is an amazing thing. I have been around, like I said, since the 90s, and I've actually competed against men since I was 17 years old. And I have been quietly trying to smash all these barriers, first female in a tank unit, first to deploy like 3,000 guys, but nobody knows my story. But to hear somebody like you doing what you're doing, that's huge. Not just for me, but to all females, like, and knowing that you beat most men at these things, that is like I'm a huge fangirl. I don't have a lot of per se role models and haven't had them, female wise. So to hear, to see you doing this now, like it's just like the greatest thing ever to me personally, because as a runner, you need to understand just how important that is to all of us. So,
well, thank you so much. I feel like you need to have your own podcast, because it sounds like there's a lot of cool stories that you could share about all of the limits you're pushing past and the barriers you're busting down. So perhaps, Scott, you can get her back on and do a solo show with Pickle and see it.
I love that idea.
And
Absolutely.
see what you can dig into, because your story, just knowing the small amounts, is absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And I really hope someday we can share some trails together.
I really do as well.
So that leads me to my final question for you both. So I'm coming out to your area, and you're going to take me on a show run, or anybody. Like, what's the one trail? Like, yeah, we'll do this one. Jen, which one would that be?
Oh, I'm definitely going to bring you to Whitewater State Park, because down here in southern Minnesota, it's flat. And that's like, I have to drive 45 minutes to the state park. But it is an amazing, it's totally worth it. You'll get lots of vert, nothing at elevation, but it will be hard. That's all that matters.
Man, okay, Courtney, how about you?
I got to check out that park. I will take you on the Colorado Trail here outside of Leadville, Colorado.
I love them both. Courtney, best of luck to you at Hard Rock. Can't believe it. Did you, by the way, like, I've got to ask you guys, well, I have you both, but have you been following Badwater?
Oh yeah.
Right. Two stories for me. One, Pam Reed, like, finishes Western States under 29 hours. And then she crushes Badwater, and now she's going to be with you in 7 days at Hard Rock. Can you believe that?
No, I can't believe it. It's so cool. And I'm excited to see her down in Silverton for Hard Rock and hear a little bit about how Badwater went, how her Western States experience was, and how she's feeling for a loop in the mountains.
Yeah, I saw her at an aid station. She was actually behind me at one point at Western, and I wanted to like stop and talk to her so bad, because I just know her story. Also, she's an older female, and I'm kind of going through a rough patch in my training these last couple of years, and I feel like it's due to my age. And I would love to pick her brain on how she got through all that.
Well, I'm hoping to have her on the show to talk about doing the triple, because she's such an inspiration. She came, I saw her at States, and I was too nervous to even talk to her. I'm like, oh my God, that's Pam Reed. But there is another story that I want to hear more about, and which is the youngest ever competitor and finisher at Badwater, 18 years old, finished Badwater. Can you believe that?
No. I mean, I saw it, so yeah, I can believe it, but like, crazy. My brain wasn't even there. Like at 18, like it was, yeah, not focused on that. That's for sure. Yeah.
And her role model is like, it's Harvey Lewis. It's like, who has these as role models? But it's such a great thing. It's such a great thing to see the young folks, the youngins getting in our sport. So anyway,
I love it.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing your stories and your time with me. Best wishes to both of you in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, and we're out. That was great. Guys, thank you so much for sharing your stories with me. That was really well done. Thank you.
Thank you. It was fun to chat with both of you.
Same here.
Thanks.
I really do appreciate getting the opportunity to chat with Courtney.
Likewise. I feel honored to chat with you, Jen. Thank you so much.
One thing before I let you go, if you could both, we probably have an image of you, Courtney, but if you could send me, I need a horizontal photo that we can use in all our social. So I'll send you an email, just a reminder about that. So
okay.
Great.
Perfect. Right. Have a great weekend, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
See you.
Yeah. Bye.